Welcome to Friends You Wish You Had, the weekly podcast for Gen Xers and certain discriminating millennials who are staring into the dark abyss of the mid 2020s and wondering if the AI is really here to destroy us or just maybe has something to offer. We're your hosts, Adam and Jeff, and everywhere we go, friends, lovers, husbands, wives, kids, aunts, uncles, and even grandma are pulling us aside with their questions, fears, and half baked theories about where our third planet from the sun is headed. So each week we dig into it, what's hype, what's real, and what's unbelievably fucking terrifying. So think of us as useful guides from the generation known as X, because in times this uncertain, when the machines can pick your fantasy lineup better than you can, we're the friends you wish you had.
We're the friends you wish you had, laughing at the dark when it's looking so bad. Eyes at the door with a devilish grin, but maybe it's a savior.
Adam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm hump day, middle of the week, getting through it. Looking forward to the weekend where I'll try to stumble through more adventures in Gen Xdom every day. What can you put weight on? What can't you? You never know. That's the joys of being of a certain age. But yeah, I'm good. How about you?
Outstanding, outstanding. I'm doing pretty good. You know, it occurs to me we've been working on this show and developing it and trying to sort of discuss sort of Gen X and their relationship with AI. When we've started to debate how important the AI part of it is as we've made the show. And I don't think it's because there's not that there isn't a lot to talk about when it comes to AI, but it occurs to me, it just feels like there's no good news when it comes to AI. And as someone who's delivered in the past month or so a lot of bad news about AI, there is no good story. There really is no good story. There's a lot of like promotional and marketing type stuff, but there's really no good news.
Well, I would say there's definitely news about AI. There's news about AI, no question. The good is the hang up here. The good is the challenging
Yes.
part of this question. And I like this question because this is one of those questions that gets you thinking. Is there really any good news? What does it mean to have good news? It's very thought-provoking, Jeff, and I'm excited to get into it with you. I feel like I'm hesitant, like it's tough for me. Like you said, we've been working on this show, trying to brainstorm and figure out the right angle, like how we can talk to Gen Xers about the reality of this world. And it's either a doom fest where it's like it's really existential and not particularly nice conversation, or it's like you said, the hype train and the bubblicious stuff, the stuff that just makes you feel gross inside, which is decidedly not Gen X. So I've been struggling with it myself, and part of it for me is like I have an instinct towards saying yes to this question. Like when I see a new technology or something that can do something nothing else has been able to do before, that's like a game changer, it gets me excited. It gets me thinking about all the cool stuff you could do with it and getting motivated to try to figure it out and play with it and get ahead of the curve. Like I have all those impulses in my life, but they don't really speak to the question that you asked. And so it becomes really challenging to like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think the first smack in the face for me in the last couple months is that certainly and it's again, we've talked about this the last few weeks. Certainly when it comes to the financial side of this, it was very shaky. It was certainly shaky, but there seemed to be one side of the argument, like sort of coming from business and coming from the business press, that like there is a plan here. It might seem from the outside looking in that, you know, that this is going to be a disaster, but wait, there's like this silver lining, there's things you're not considering. And now I feel like in the last couple months, even the business press and business leaders are starting to talk openly about what the fuck is going on. The data coming out now is like pretty stark in terms of the amount of investment that's been made and how slow the return will seem to be, and not just how slow the returns will seem to be, that this technology can really not deliver in the way that they raised all this money to deliver. It can certainly do a lot of things, So I think for me, that's just like part one of it. And we don't need to recap all these, details. You can listen to our last few shows. But I think that part of it to me, so news out of the business community in the financial sectors it's just all bad news.
So we've been comparing this a lot to all sorts of different things, to the mortgage crisis, to COVID, even to the dot com boom, or I should say the dot com bubble and then the boom. But the one that, like, thinking about this question that you asked, which I think is a really good question, it had me really thinking about what's different about this one. And I came to the conclusion that really this implicates the industrial revolution. Like, to me, I know that's of all these other bubbles, the one that this is the most connected to is that. And the reason is all those other bubbles were about inventing something new. And I actually don't think this stuff, as new as it is, it's really not allowing us to do things that we couldn't do on our own. It's allowing us to do them faster. It's allowing to do it maybe better. It's allowing us to do it on a greater scale. And that has its own novel things that it allows, but it's really not anything new. Just like when you talked about taking people from their little artisan shop to the assembly line, and you talked, like, those machines weren't doing something that a human couldn't do. They were just doing it in a way that it was more viable to either mass produce or to sort of perfect, make better, cleaner, whatever. It's more like that kind of innovation. But there's one way that and so I think that's important, because when you think about good news and you think about impacts, I think a lot of people think about these big impacts, me, including me, financial impacts, environmental impacts, and societal impacts. We think about them all the time. And I think that's part of why it sells so well. To be honest, like, any risk-free product is less dangerous and exciting than a risky product. And I think this is an incredibly risky product. So I think that, like, the marketability of something that is inherently dangerous is just sexy, and but that's sort of a side note. I think from the industrial revolution perspective, it's like where that really had such a transformational impact was in our relationship with labor. And I think that like, the relationship between society, labor, and value. And I think this has the same kind of transformational impact. And it almost doesn't matter if it's good or not for that. It matters because it is, and it's going to have those impacts no matter what. But something occurred to me, and I'm curious what you think about this. I can't think of another product that exists that the better it gets, the more risky it is. That the better it is at doing what it does, the more the threat of it is. Like, there's always threat, say a nuclear bomb. The first nuclear bomb was the most dangerous nuclear bomb. And the innovation that we've had in nuclear science since then has served to contain that horrible technology and make it more targeted, make it more all these things, but not to make the threat higher. It was the initial discovery, and then you sort of lower the risk. But this, when ChatGPT 5 is better at pretending it's a human than ChatGPT 4, that is more
Well,
risky.
but here's the question: if you want to talk about that, use that analogy, would
Yeah.
we have been better off without setting off an atomic bomb? And I think the answer is absolutely yes. Like, just
Yes.
because we could do it, we never should have do it.
Right.
And what I would say is, when they dropped the first one, or when they tested the first one, there was that fear that we could, like, blow up the whole world.
Right.
Once they knew that wasn't going to happen, it became more dangerous. And I just wonder, I don't know if I am putting AI in the same level as that, but, again, moving past the financial and economic concerns, sort of the social concerns, and, well, I guess it's not like a bomb, so it's tied into all these factors. But it's like, would we be better without this technology at all? And, like, time will tell. But I don't know. Like, the case I think I would make right now is, like, maybe we would be. And I think some of that's based on the way we're going about it. Because to me, it's like, I think I said this to you the other day. It's like we all have cars in our driveway, but now they're telling you, you know what you need in your driveway is a Mack truck. Like everybody needs to drive a Mack truck or like a Formula One race car. Sure, it's more fun to drive, it's more exciting. Like there's a sense of power or speed that you don't have, but it's just so fucking dangerous and it's disastrous for the environment and it's totally unaffordable.
So see, here's where my thinking went on it, and I'll share to you. I do have an answer to this question. You're probably not going to like it, but I do have an answer to this question. So I'm a big aligned incentives guy. I think aligned incentives are really important in all the things you do, in deal making and all that kind of stuff. But and where I got to with that nuclear analogy, what I was really trying to say is usually innovation makes things less risky. Like the initial invention can bring something risky into the world, like the nuclear bomb. But usually innovations, not learning more about it, like, oh, I blew one up and now I know it's not going to end the world. That's learning more about it. But the actual innovations in it, making it better, tend to make it less risky. But this to me, that's turned on its head. And the better it gets, the more risky it is. So those good things have to be better to be worth it because the risk keeps going up with those things. And they're just not. That's the thing. The ways that they're better, the reason that you think it's ridiculous that porn's not worth it. Maybe curing cancer is worth it, but that's not what they're doing. And like some gadget that you can make a party sign out of, that's not worth it. The reason of the worth is because of the cost, and that cost is risk to the environment, to our own safety, to humanity, existential risk, all sorts of risk. But the problem is making it better makes it riskier, and that's really a challenge. And then sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I think there are cases where you can say mankind, person kind needs to take risks in order to advance. But that doesn't mean that every risk, is worth it. So I just think that, we as a human species, like, every country, all the nuclear powers could have 75 nuclear bombs. That would be enough. But no, we need to have thousands of them. Like,
Yeah.
unless we can destroy the world 50 times over, it's like it makes no sense. And so I also think.
I want to stop you for a second because you jumped to the end of my argument, and I thought you said something really interesting that I want to say. What you said is whether the risk of doing it is worth it, and that really depends on what you're risking. But I think this is what I'm talking about is the risk inherent in it existing. The risk of it gets bigger, not the risk to build it, but the risk.
Well, but I would
of
say the
it.
same thing is true with nuclear weapons. The risk of it is the problem,
But the risk
And
of it doesn't get higher the more we as we made the bombs smaller, as we put them into missiles, all those things didn't make the technology inside more dangerous. And the technology inside is getting
Wow.
more dangerous on its own. Like ChatGPT 5 can do things autonomously that ChatGPT 4 couldn't do. That's just an example. It
So-
is getting more risky. It is getting more dangerous.
But so again, no good news there.
Yeah,
And then I
yeah,
think the other part of it is like we're not talking about Jonas Salk and Albert Einstein here. Like the same geniuses who brought us to the point of our society we're at now of sort of like rampant authoritarianism, a real, lack of any kind of social safety net, government regulation. I do believe that there's sort of a more fractured population due to our interaction with the web and communities online and all of the litany of issues that have come with that. Those people now are the ones that are the front people for this whole revolution. And I'm like, where is the good news there? Like, where is the Jonas Salk of AI? Like, this is not the boys at the Kennedy space program saying we're going to send a man to the moon for the good of all mankind. These are people, like we played that clip from Mark Zuckerberg. The danger in not like blowing through a couple $100 billion is we might not get there first. And it's like they are just playing dice with the whole world with this technology, and all to have, listen, I'm all for advancement in computer science and But to do it all just for that, and that these are the people we're supposed to trust to have the judgment over this, again, there's just no good news. Like, I cannot point to anyone in this space who's like, this is a person that has the public interest in mind. It is just totally devoid from all of this. So, again, to me, there's no good news there.
Well, so to me, this gets to the crux of the issue. And the conclusion I came to, and the reason all this is the way it is, it's not just endemic to the technology, like I was saying. It's because we're making the wrong bet. We're making the wrong bet. Anytime you have a big innovation like this, you're making a bet. It might not work. It might cost way more than it's worth at the end. But the bet we're making is different than the way that we've approached these things in the past. And you can say that it's just because the way that our country, because it's specific to the US that I'm talking about, has evolved. But it's just really dangerous because of the kind of bet we're making. We're making a bet. Like, you think about this. I hope I spend this money so that Sam Altman can make a profit. I hope this thing gets evolved enough that Elon Musk can make a profit. The problem is the investment is not centered into research, and then we try to commercialize the product at the end. The research dollars, the bet is being done on the commercialization. And so that means the end goal is commercialization. It's not ChatGPT working well for our society. It's not ChatGPT helping people and opening up opportunities that never were there before. It's ChatGPT turning a fucking profit. And that's the only thing. And that is the goal. It has to be. That's the way capitalism works. And there's nothing wrong with capitalism, but to put this in that context is what's causing all this problem. We're making the wrong bet, and that's what's wrong.
Yeah, again, no good news. Not good news on that front
Okay,
either.
okay.
I hear
All
you.
right, all right. So to get to that, I think it's over the top to say there's not good news in medicine and science when it comes to AI. Like, I see innovations every day that are concrete and measurable, but there's lots of technologies. Like, CRISPR wasn't brought into the home. And when CRISPR was developed, it wasn't like, I hope this pays off. The concrete examples it gives, and I could give you 5 more, are AI is being used in stroke screening projects to triage and route patients more quickly in Punjab, India. That's like a concrete use case of medicine right now. I think what I talked about on our show a few weeks ago.
But I mean, but if the president got on TV and said, we sent a man to the moon and now we're going to cure cancer, and I'm proposing $1 trillion initiative because cancer kills X number of people, and this is a public service project. And part of that $1 trillion or whatever is to be spent on the advanced computers we need to do this. Totally different story. This is like, we're going to advance computing and like, look at all the cool shit it could do. It's like these people are looking for stuff to justify what they want to do, as opposed to like, we're trying to achieve this goal and we need to build the tools along the way to do it. And I just think that's fundamentally different.
It's very well stated, but can you admit to me that there is good news on the medical front that comes directly from AI? Can you admit to me that that's true? Because it is true.
Well, I mean, I have seen a bunch of anecdotal stories about areas where AI is, they claim it has made advances. But I've also seen stories like that MIT study that they went back and looked at it 2 years later about how it helped scientists to be so much more productive in the lab. And it was total bunk. So until I feel like there's a real advancement,
but
it's
that's
like,
just making another productivity argument. Like, that's an example of productivity in science. I mean, the fact that we can find more proteins and map more proteins than we could at all. We had no chance of doing that before AI. I mean, what I was talking about a couple weeks ago when you look at DNA sequencing and that they have a transformer that works on DNA the way that ChatGPT works on language, where it predicts the next in the sequence of DNA, and that they were able to create 20 or 30 viruses out of 300 they created as carriers to send things into people's bodies to get them to get their immune system to fight cancer. Like, those are concrete, real developments, and they're good news. it doesn't change the bigger picture, but I feel like you got to call a spade, and that is a good news, in my opinion.
It's like I understand what you're saying. I think the question I have is like I don't think I'm positioned to say whether it's how big of a leap it is. I know what I read, it tells me that it's a big leap. So I don't really know. Again, to me, it just feels like the cost that is being paid to make this advancement is outsized compared to the size of the advancements. So we will see. The future will tell, but it's also, it sounds like we should do a podcast about medical advancements in AI because it's the one place we could just deliver good news. I mean, is that
No,
the,
no. I think the bottom line is just because there's one area that there's good news in this space really does not change the bigger picture, which is the incentives are off. That, like, to me, that's the big problem. Like, this is a profit-centered problem. It's the same thing you said when you talked about that sort of harem of guys, because they're all men, the harem of guys who are taking on all this investment and promising all these things. And really, at the end of the day, what they're promising is this will make me money. And it will make you money too if you give me your money. That's really all they're promising.
well,
The
I
rest
think
is
that's
all
the
bullshit. You
I
know?
think that's the other part that's unfortunately very bad news too, is the people they are promising to make money for are their investors, because
Yes.
what they are promising to deliver to their investors is the ability, like again, if it works and does what they say it can do, to fire like 80% of their
Yes.
workforce.
Yes.
And most of us are in that 80%. Like, so again, where is the good news? Like,
Yeah. So
what is the thing on sort of a, again, like we're going to the moon, like Kennedy got up there, he made a speech, we're going to go to the moon, we're going to invest all this money. It's like, this is the goal to advance the species. There were
he
people
said
that
all that,
doubted,
but to be
but there
honest,
were
he really just
people,
wanted to invent Tang. He was just trying to invent
but
Tang, and the rest of it was just
I
an
mean,
excuse
listen,
for that.
there were people that doubted the financial investment to do that also.
Yes. Yes. But it
But
was a
I feel like
government investment. It was
it's a
different.
government investment. To me, it just feels like that is debatable. This just doesn't seem like what is the other side of the debate. It remains very troubling.
But you nailed it, because the difference between those two things is in a large part the bet that we were making. Like, the bet to go to the moon was the bet that innovation would lead to all kinds of good things for the country. It also was a bet that it would help us be more dominant in our global affairs. It was, but these are all public interest, whether it's a good interest or not. These are all public interest things. They're not whether it will make money. And when you make this different kind of bet that we're making now, this private bet, it changes the whole game. Like, their end goal is not the improvement of humanity. They can talk about that. They may have a personal view of that, but the mechanics of the deal just don't measure up to that. The mechanics of the deal to get to the moon measured up to that. It was, okay, the president says we're going to do it. We're going to invest these government dollars in doing it, and we're going to make it happen. We're going to even give these government dollars to private enterprise to make money doing it. But the end goal, the investment, the risk is coming to the country. And that is totally different. And that is, to me, the root of all the problems. And so with that, it means that even the good news, even the medical news, it's not good news, because none of the advancement is good news, because the goal is not good news. That's the problem.
Well, and I think that the die is cast. It's not like, should we go about it in this way? Like, the hundreds of billions of dollars they're on the table. You can't take it back. Like, it's going to go somewhere, but you can't take it back. You can't figure out a new way to do it. And that is just highly, again, it's a highly problematic situation, but it is also one, again, no good news. Like, there's just no way out of it. Like, go out of it is just through, and it is not in any of our hands what that through looks like for the most part. Let me roll this clip, Adam.
Number 2 biggest trend in 2026, the unplugging of Gen Alpha, which is an indicator to the unplugging of every generation. Starting in 2026, you'll see more businesses like this. I just talked about a business where you get paid to walk with people, like literally walk with them. I believe what you'll see, and you're already seeing it, I think experiential, music festivals, going outside, going to events, going out and putting the phone away. Private clubs that make you put the phone in a locker before you walk in. The forcing of the deplug is now starting to already happen, and more importantly, the choosing to deplug unplug is happening. More kids want to take a hike on a Saturday. And I think you'll see it more and more. But I think someone like myself and many in the room right now with me as I film this will actually just start to do it in the same way we just started to exercise more. Like we're just all going to be like, you know what? I need 7 hours that I allocated in 2023 to a phone, laying in bed doom scrolling. I need to allocate that to go out and do things with no phone.
So that was our old friend Gary V.
Gary V. Well,
Hard
what
to
is it?
escape Gary
Wine
V.
Library. What was
Wine
was
Library
his?
TV.
Yeah, Wine Library TV. I loved it. I loved it. He was a pioneer.
He definitely is. It's hard to escape Gary V on the socials, but it's still a lot of interesting stuff. So is 2026, Adam, the year of the great unplugging? What do
I
you
have a
think?
different take on this. I feel like I spend a lot of time with Gen Alpha. I'll just say it. I spend a lot of time with Gen Alpha. I've told you before on this show that I run my school, my daughter's school's Odyssey of the Mind program, which is a creative problem solving program. I got about 40 kids in it. They're grades 1 through 8. And I'm working with them over a whole school year, and I get to learn a lot about them. And I do not feel like Gary V's impression jives with mine. There was an article yesterday, actually, in the Wall Street Journal about 6-7. Have you ever heard that phrase? 6-7. Wait a minute, I got to do it right. 6-7.
No,
Yes? No?
I definitely have. My kids are saying it.
Yes, your kids are saying
My
it. Your
6-year-old
Gen
and my
Alpha.
8-year-old are saying it. Yeah,
Your Gen
I
Alpha
love
kids
it.
are
I
saying
love
it.
it. I got to explain to them what slang is. I love it.
It's great. It's great. Well, this phrase, which is ubiquitous across Gen Alpha right now, is consistent with all the slang in Gen Alpha, which is absurdist. All the slang that comes out of this particular group is nonsensical and like funny because it's nonsensical. That's the whole concept of it. Like this Wall Street Journal article, which by the way, that's the end of 6-7. When the Wall Street Journal's writing about a trend, that just fucking killed it. It's over. But anyway, 6-7. The other thing is they describe this movement, which is, I'm doing it for those of you not on video on YouTube, but it's they they equated it to handling melons. It's the move of handling melons. So we'll just leave it at that. But the quote from this originated from a rapper called Skrilla, who used it in one of his songs. Skrilla was asked about it, and he said, it says, Skrilla doesn't elaborate much on the interpretation. Quote, I never put an actual meaning on it, and I still would not want to, he says. That's why everyone keeps saying it. The point is the absurdity. And in my mind, when did absurdism, this goes back to what I was saying before about the Industrial Revolution. Like where these kids are at and where this stuff is, you know, the whole absurdist movement, existentialism, all that stuff, it all came out of the Industrial Revolution and then World War I and World War II, how the whole world roiled after the Industrial Revolution, how everything changed. And it left people feeling like absurdism was like saying nothing was saying something. And I think that is the moment that I see Gen Alpha in right now. Like whether they're going to fucking go to a concert or not, I feel like is missing the point. The point is that that is where they are. And I think that if you're thinking about what's next for them or any of us, like to me, that's more important than just, oh, people were on their phones and now they want to get off their phones. That's what I got out of it. I don't know. You probably got something better out of it than that.
Well, I don't think anyone's ever getting off their phones. It's just a question of, can we moderate our use a little bit? I thought the exercise analogy was a good one. I am all in favor of this. I'm still someone that does not want to get Wi-Fi on a flight because it's like, I do not need to be connected every second of the day. I am still someone that goes to a lot of movies and I like that I put my phone away. So I do appreciate that sense of being unplugged. I think the trap for people with kids is like you always have that sense of you have to be able to be connected in case there's a problem with your kids. So I'm like, there needs to be something along with the restaurant where you go and you check your phone. There's got to be someone in the back who's like monitoring your phone in case there's an emergency or something. You got to work that into the system. But I find all of this very intriguing just from a sense of not so much of part of it is like wanting to unplug from our devices. And I think part of it is because social IRL social experiences are just so different now. our devices are so entertaining, and we are so locked in our homes and with our schedule and our activity, and it's just not a sense of play or free for all of meeting people or all of these things. So I do wonder if there aren't going to be some like sort of interesting things that crop up along the way where people can sort of go out of their way to like schedule some experience like this. It's just an IRL conversation. It's whatever it is in the way that like a dining experience is. I feel like the concert thing to me, I feel like every year you hear about how people are going to more concerts and shows and want to travel more, and they're pre-COVID and obviously post-COVID. And so that part doesn't resonate as much to me as being something new, except that ticket prices are insane. But the people like sort of acting on those offers, if they were there, I do think people would take advantage of them. I don't think everybody would, but I do think that that's something, if it were like part of the restaurant you were going to or part of whatever you were doing, or it was very easy to sort of
Check
work
your
that
phone.
into your day. Yeah, check your phone or just something, because I something to like limit your exposure to it is sort of, I mean, in a way it sort of sounds like some sort of healthy, it's like some kind of maha influencer shit, you know what I mean? But
No, I mean, they're
something,
doing it. They're starting to do it at like executive clubs and stuff like that.
yeah.
It's become the trend where there's like lockers for you to put your phone in and you don't bring your phone in. It's kind of a thing. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think it's a great thing. I also think it's a great thing that like I don't know if you remember, but I remember like it used to be rude to look at your phone at a restaurant. Like it was kind of like a don't do it sort of thing. It was like a little obnoxious. And I don't mean rude to the person you're eating with. I mean rude to the restaurant. Like the restaurant would be offended. But that's been gone for quite a while
Yeah,
now.
you know
So
what?
it'd be nice to get a little of that back.
And then the iPhone came out, and then it
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
shut the fuck up, everybody, just look at your phone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
But I
think
would
there's
say
more of there's more of a discussion now about the how harmful this stuff is, how tricky it is for
that's the
kids.
key.
All that is out there. I think our generation is sort of a part of that. We're also a little bit older, and then we didn't grow up with this technology. It's not as ubiquitous to us, so it's like the idea of like putting it down or doing. It's not the same sort of like it was. We were born with one in our hand kind of situation. So I don't know. I do feel like it's out there. I do think there could be some interesting opportunities. One, it is super addictive. So people love addictive things and they're
Yeah.
hard to put down. And two, I also think the way our economy works and the way it's probably going to continue to work, it's going to insist that some people have their phone in their hand 24 hours a day. Like the other part of it that I think is a danger to sort of the business world and the markets is all that stuff is so much is riding on them being able to have your hold your attention at all times. So some movement of people just wanting to like not look at their screens for a while will be met with fierce resistance.
I can see that. I think the biggest thing, it's something you sort of just touched on a minute ago, is like, I do think that the general understanding of the phone has changed. Like, just like cigarettes, like, there is a universal understanding that spending too much time on your phone is bad. If that doing it just before you go to bed is bad. And it's like, it's not just us. Gen X who were there before the phones, but even like my Gen Alpha daughter, there's an instinctual just awareness in the ether that like it's not good for you to get too wrapped up in it. She'll tell me it's not good for, oh, I watch too much YouTube. It's not good for me. Like she has that sense that I don't think we had in the last few years. And it's only recently, not that the companies who are doing it didn't know, just like the cigarette companies, but I do think there's a level of understanding of that, and that will have an impact on behavior, I think.
So I didn't want to leave today's show without, I just have to rant about this. I got my health insurance premium renewal for next year, and I really want to like yell or hit something. I have a family of four, two adults and two kids, and we were paying about 22, a little more than 2,200 a year. And now our
No,
premium
no, a
is
month, a month.
sorry, thank you. I take that back. That's how disassociated I am from all
Yeah.
this. And my health insurance is going up almost $1,100 a month. It
Whew.
is it is fucking disgusting. I'm already paying a lot. Like the year before it went up $250. And it's like I'm old enough to remember healthcare reform. I remember when Bill Clinton in the Clinton administration was going to change healthcare, and certainly Obamacare and the ACA and the fight over all of that. And there has been very little in the last 30, 40 years that has been able to slow down the cost of healthcare and to make it more accessible to more people. I think on paper, they're like, we have extended it, but I think they've also, while they have done that, they have made it trickier to get in other ways by sort of manipulating the system. And it just feels like a grift of incredible proportions at this point. I mean, so much so that a healthcare executive got blown away, and the mood of the country was like, you go, guy, like someone's got to do something
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. So demoralizing. It really is. It's really demoralizing to see not just those numbers. I only have 3 people in my family, so it's less, but it's still a
It's
blow.
commensurate.
Yeah, it's commensurate, and I'm taking a huge increase this year and paying a mortgage payment in fucking monthly health insurance premiums.
More
And
for me. Yeah,
yeah,
more
for
for me.
you more. And then you look at what you get for that money, and it's so demoralizing. The amount of out of pocket that you spend, the amount of deductible that you spend, the copays are all going up. All those things in addition, and then the coverage, you fight with them every moment to get anything from these companies, and it's just such a bizarre system. The idea that this is how we get health delivered to us, not health insurance, health care delivered to us through these big for-profit companies. They make billions of dollars by deciding not to give you health care. I don't understand how, like, people talk about waiting in line or something like that. Okay, that is the government deciding to give someone else health care over you, right? So that's deciding not to give you health care because they need to give someone else healthcare or because they're mismanaged or whatever thing. This is, we can't give you healthcare because we won't make enough profit. Like, that is what this is. And it is demoralizing.
Flat out. And it's just at this point in 2025, like I
Yeah.
mean, I remember when Clinton got into office and he and Hillary and their commission, and they were looking at different models.
Me
and
too.
The
Me too, for the record.
Democrats, yeah, no. And then, I mean, even the Democratic Party like recoiled at the idea, like the word socialism was everywhere. Like it went nowhere. They were able to get a few kind of small changes, to expand Medicaid for kids, and they did some stuff, but for the most part, the system remained intact. And, and then that thing that used to be out there is like you couldn't get coverage if you had a pre-existing condition. And then 2009, the Obama administration comes in with a huge majority and really has the Democratic Party on board to really make some substantive changes. But because of the nonsense way our government works, where majorities can't govern, of course, the Republicans are able to derail it to sort of the watered down, fractured Affordable Care Act, which I'm not going to say didn't do some good things. Like it was a modest reform of the healthcare system. Like it did get rid of this idea you couldn't get coverage with pre-existing conditions, and it did extend coverage to people that didn't have it by offering these subsidies, which our government is fighting about right now, sadly. But either way, costs continue to go up. And I approach this, and you approach it too, is like, we're business owners. Like we have employees, like we want to be nimble, like we want to do things, like, dare I say, kind of believe in capitalism. Like I want to make money. I want to have a successful business. And I think it is so divorced from reality in a way that even the AI nonsense isn't. There's no business owner in the world, from Apple computers to fucking Chat GPT to our little company, that like wants to provide health insurance to their employees. It's a pain in the ass. It's super expensive. It enables this whole health insurance industry, that serves as this for-profit middleman that has so much power over the whole system. It's heavily regulated. It's constantly litigated. And then you look at all of these other countries that either have a government system or a heavily subsidized and regulated private system. There's both kinds out there.
Could be both.
Both work just fine. And it's like the cat's, what's the movie? The cat's totally out of the bag. Oh, The Insider talking about If
That's
it
Al
cuts totally
Pacino,
out of the
baby.
bag, it's all over the internet. Every American knows it. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene,
Yeah, yeah, she knows it.
is
Yeah.
running around. She understands it. And this is like the one industry that's probably the worst, and no one can take it on. It is just incredible. And it does not benefit the rest of the business community in any way. It is fucking
At all.
crazy.
And so I think that I remember back in 1993, I think that was when they were trying to reform healthcare right after Clinton was elected. And I remember having conversations with my mom. And my mom tends to take a liberal viewpoint towards things, but I would say a institutionally democratic viewpoint towards things. But she's a baby boomer, and that's a typical thing. And I remember having arguments with her, and she was like, government healthcare is just like, it's like infringing on your freedom. It's right. It's like it's socialism. And this was not partisan thing, but this was like an embedded ideological thing. And I feel like the AMA and other organizations from way back in the 20s seeded this mindset towards it in order to create the system that we've created. But what's demoralizing when I say that is that was 1993. My mom has changed. Her opinion is totally different. She's all Medicare for all. That's where her head's at when it comes to this. And so, like, I can understand if the government didn't move at all in that 30-year period that we're talking about, if it wasn't important to people. But Gallup did a poll this year. 62% of US adults, the highest percentage since 2006, right before the Affordable Care Act, 62% of Americans believe that it is the federal government's responsibility to ensure that all Americans have health care coverage.
Well,
62%.
I just think there used to be almost this debate. I mean, and whatever. And I feel like the debate can always come back. But you remember back to 2008 with like Sarah Palin and the death panels, and
Yeah,
like
sure.
that had so much purchase in the debate, and it was such bullshit. And it's like, who the death panel is? Like the insurance company that denies your
For
claim.
sure.
It's
For sure.
totally ridiculous. I feel like just with the average person, even that bullshit argument's off the table now.
Yes.
Like
Yeah,
we're
that's why
all
I'm saying this is not a
Yeah,
partisan thing.
yeah.
It is in Washington. It's a totally partisan thing in Washington, but none of that stuff you said matters at all to the regular people. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't
And
matter. Like the ACA did some things, but it's not like, oh, the Democrats got the solution and the Republicans don't. Nobody has a fucking solution. And the solution's so fucking obvious. Everybody else has it. Sorry.
Everybody,
yelling, but
yeah, no,
else has it.
everybody else has it. Everybody else would. Again, it's also like it's the most common problem to me, like for basically every American.
Yes.
You're paying too much, you don't get enough, and you collectively remember, like we remember a time where like it wasn't that expensive, it was less expensive, it was easier to navigate. And I would say you go back 20, 30 years, it wasn't like it was so much better, but even then it was, you would go to your doctor. Like now you go to a medical corporation. Like I don't have a doctor, I have a medical corporation that my insurance company deals business. It's been so financialized.
I've got to convince an agent from my fucking insurance company that I need this procedure. Like that's so disappointing. I'm so disappointed in my country for that. That's so disappointing.
And it is only predicated on their profit. It is just so shameless. It is such a grift. And it is the thing to me. I would, you could debate like a lot of shit politically. You could debate,
it's not even a partisan issue.
It's not really a partisan issue. It is just a do nothing fucking issue for all the people in power. And obviously, I don't think the two parties are the same, but I don't think either party treats it with the seriousness that it deserves, with the sort of like go to the mat politics of it. They're afraid to like say, we could have a big idea and we could change this. I mean, the election in 2016, like, oh my God, Medicare for all, and all the serious thought that went into debunking how Medicare for all could never work. That was just total bullshit, just total hack journalism and totally like private industry pouring money into lobbying and all these things. And it's just something like every American knows, every American sees it every month when they pay their bill, or their employer pays their bill and takes more out of their paycheck. When you go to your doctor, that constant sense of stress and worry about, even though I have insurance, it's not even going to fucking work. And this is the first time for me. I mean, I've been lucky and earn a decent living. This is the first time where like I got to change my plan. Like I am more inclined to go along and pay a little more. And, I need a plan that has out of network coverage. So I pay more for that. And now it's like, I just don't know if I can even afford this. It is so fucking demoralizing.
So here's this. Here's this. We are we have an epidemic of loneliness in this country, and I don't want you to feel alone anymore. So I got some stats for you. All right, KFF, they do surveys on how Americans feel about healthcare every 6 months forever. KFF, October 3rd, just happened. 7 in 10 adults who buy their own insurance say that if the amount they paid for health insurance each month nearly doubled, they could not pay the higher premiums without significantly disrupting their household finances. 4 in 10 said they would go without health care coverage if the amount they had to pay nearly doubled. About a third said they would continue to pay for their current insurance, while 2 in 10 would get insurance from another source. In June, they said just under half of US adults say it's difficult to afford healthcare costs, and 1 in 4 say they or a family member in their household has problems paying for healthcare in the past 12 months. Debt, like breaking up pills, all that stuff is there. People not filling prescriptions because they can't do it, letting something go because they can't afford it. This is what we wrought. And hey, you don't like Medicare for all. You think that's socialism? Fine. The problem is there's models on every side. There's models everywhere. There's models. You don't like that model because you think it's too socialist? How about Japan and the private insurance stuff that they do? How about Singapore, where all these places with different ideological bents can solve this problem? It's a travesty.
And it's like for, we're Americans and we're supposed to believe we're the most free and our government cares the most. Like all these other countries that have these like more despotic, evil governments that treat their people like shit and have all these, systemic problems that we don't have. None of them are as cruel when it comes to healthcare as our fucking country. It's just recognized as the basic human service that it is. And it's not financialized, and there's no like gamesmanship around the idea that like, well, if one rich man can't get his valve surgery in 24 hours, and God forbid he has to wait for like a week, even though it's not going to like affect the outcome, that like we failed as a country. It's like this myth on top of this grift on top of this, just really like it's just way that our country is uniquely cruel to the citizens of the country. And there just doesn't seem, some of this is talking to people from Generation X who have seen this go on now for 35, 40 years. It just does, there's nothing that can like pierce through the veil for something that to me is the most common issue for every American. Everybody has this conversation.
Yes, 6 in 10 adults, 62% of people are scared about unexpected medical bills. Like, why do we let people live that way? Why do we make the choice that people making $30,000 a year and people making $250,000 a year, all of those people are scared of unexpected medical bills? 62%. It's our choice. And why do we live this way? I don't know. There's no good news there, but I think it's important to note, because we didn't say this earlier in the conversation, you're not losing your subsidy. You don't get a subsidy. That's the
I don't get a
increase
subsidy.
you're getting with no subsidy. So the people who have had a subsidy and then are losing their subsidy, and in our area, Tampa Bay area where we live, that's 519,000 people. That's a lot of fucking people. There's only 4 million people in this area. 519,000 of them are in the position of losing a subsidy and getting this rate increase that you got on top. That's crippling.
Well,
That's crippling.
the sticker shock, the sticker shock is just fucking incredible. And it's just, again, it's just the whole idea. It's just this tiered system of subsidies and non-subsidies and just the complicated sort of sort of shady way like all of this stuff plays out, when there could just be much simpler tiers or much simpler access through the government or whatever. And I'm someone like, I'm a vet. I was in the military. I experienced socialized medicine in the military. And for all the jokes about it, and socialized dentistry, another thing, dentistry and looking after your eyes and your feet, that's not healthcare. I experienced all of that firsthand. And you know what? It was pretty good. You know what made it pretty good is it was free for starters. It came with the package, came with the service. And the other part of it is like, we have high standards for medicine in this country. And I am not even a believer that, listen, if the super wealthy want to have some like Rolls Royce insurance system that only operates for them, like go ahead. But the idea that these fucking rocket scientists can't put that system together with one that'll just serve the average person or anybody who wants to be a part of it, and like either again through like some kind of heavily regulated private system like they have in Japan and Germany, or socialized system like they have in Canada or England, it all works better. And all these countries have some system like that. All of our peers, it all works better. It provides much more of a sense of security for its citizens. It allows them to innovate more when it comes to business and opportunity. And we are just fucking stuck at the back of the line with you and I and everybody else we know, like paying more, being more stressed about it. And like, it's always that fear, like one day the bill will come due and you won't have the money to pay it. And then you'll be fucked.
Do you have anything else, Jeff? Because I really have to get to this. I've been following this battle between my health insurance company and the hospital network that's close to me. And if they don't come to some agreement about money, I might not be able to take my daughter to a hospital where everybody knows her and they know her conditions. So I got to follow this. Is there anything else you need before I go do that?
I think on that note, we can sign off.
See, till next time, Jeff.
Bye.